Okay, so we're up to free equipment giveaway number 3. Having our Christmas giveaways. If you haven't won the last 2, you didn't win the oscilloscope or the power supply, here's another chance to win something. There'll be one more giveaway next Sunday. So the drawing for this one will be next Sunday. So today is, December the 10th, I think it is. Yeah. So the drawing for what's behind the whiteboard will be on the 17th. And then on the 17th, after I publish the video of who won what's behind here, I'll do the last giveaway for the Christmas season, I guess you could call it. And that'll be, I'll show that on the 17th. Actually, it's going to be multiple things. There's going to be multiple things in the equipment. Well, it's not even going to be equipment next time, but it's something you're definitely going to can definitely use if you want to do learn electronics. And there's another gift, as long as things work out, working with somebody else to put a little package together. I'll just leave it at that. There's something else. There'll probably be 2 drawing videos posted next week. One for something to do with the electronics course, and then the other one we'll just let it go. You'll see. But yeah, so the drawing for this one will be on December 17th. Just like the previous 2, I'll be doing the drawing at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll use that little online random YouTube comment draw program or website. So, rules of the game: if you've won something already in either of the previous 2, you're not eligible. Shipping is free, so if you win this in the continental United States, I will pay for shipping. And then anybody else, if you're outside of the continental United States, you're going to have to pay for it yourself. So, we can work on that if you're, as long, like I say, that's going to be on you, though. So I think that pretty much covers it. Only thing I can ask is, if you don't really need it, if you already have one or something like it, just be honest, don't enter. I'm trying to get equipment into the hands of people that just don't have anything, and they're going to be taking the electronics course once I get that up and running. So, like I said, no way I have of fact-checking that. So if you don't really need it, don't enter. If this is for new players in the game. So enough jibber-jabber again. What's behind the whiteboard this time? A big black box. It's a briefcase. It's actually equipment. Now this is an analog, I'll get it out, analog and digital trainer. So it's actually upside down to look at it, but it's made by Elenco. It's the model XK550. Can't even see it for the glare. Analog digital trainer. I got a couple of these. These are used, like everything else I'm giving away. These were apparently at one point in time property of St. Philip's. So whoever St. Philip's is. I'm assuming some kind of school. But, so there it is. I have a couple of them because I've used these over the years. They're very handy for doing prototyping and stuff. A lot of what you would need is built right in. Now this when you bought these from Elenco, I think they might have even, you'd have to check online for sure, but they might have had these even as a kit, but I know you could get them pre-made. There's a slot here for a multimeter, which is not included, and there's also slots for even hand tools in the top of it. You can put a pair of needle nose pliers, wire cutters, wire strippers, whatever went in that hole, and a couple other little spots. There's even some built-in storage, but when I got them, they're just as you see. Now, I did do one modification to this one. I installed these 3 multi-binding posts here. So, they're binding post, screw terminal with a hole through them, and then you also have the banana jacks. And what those are for, they're actually labeled. So the black is negative. The green one here in the middle is from 0 to 20 volts DC for the variable supply, and the red one is the positive 5-volt supply. So, that's one of the things that makes this such a handy piece of equipment if you're learning electronics and that's why schools use, maybe not this one, companies that make educational training kits for colleges and Votex and stuff like that, they all have something in the lines of something like this. It's got a built-in prototype board, it has logic switches, data switches, it's got logic indicators, has a built-in signal generator, pair of built-in potentiometers, This one is nice because it has a lot of power supplies built into it. So it has a positive 5 volt supply, positive 12 volt supply, negative 12 volt supply, and ground. So there's 3 power supplies right there, plus 5 volts and 12 volts, and then a minus 12 volts. It also has a variable 0 to 20 volt positive supply, a variable 0 to 20 volt negative supply, and then on these two, and you can follow the little lines down, so there's actually 5 terminals in that. The center terminal's ground. The second terminal in is your positive 0 to 20. The second one in from the end is the negative 0 to 20 supply. If you hook up between the ground and this outside pin, that's 15 volts AC. From the center pin to the outside pin on this side is 15 volts AC. And you can see they have a little line around here from the outside pin to outside pin. That's 30 volts AC. So yeah, it has a lot of power supplies built into it. So it does a lot in one box. Like I say, it has a pair of potentiometers built into it, just a 1K and 100K pot built in, but it also has a square sawtooth and sine wave signal generator built into it. I think this goes up to 100 kilohertz, and we can actually hook that up to the scope and take a look at it. It's got coarse frequencies, so you go 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 for the range. Has a fine, which is a variable potentiometer for fine adjustment. Has an amplitude control and a DC offset, which actually I can show what they do. The DC offset will actually move the DC or the offset for your frequency. You'll actually be able to see the signal move up and down on the oscilloscope screen as long as I have the scope probe DC coupled. So this will be really handy for the electronics course because, like I say, this has a lot of what you're going to need built into it all in one. When you're done, and then, like I say, you can get a multimeter to stick in here. If you have an oscilloscope or you're going to be using a Red Bateya or something like that, man, that's a lot. That's a large majority of what you're going to need. You can show a lot of what you're going to need is right here. And like I say, if you put a multimeter in here, man, this is almost a standalone training unit. Like I say, when you get into AC, you're going to need an oscilloscope, so that's going to be a standalone separate instrument. But yeah, they're nice little things. Now, more companies than just Elenco have made these over the years. Like I say, I got a couple of them because they are handy. I like them because I don't need to be turning on big rack mount or bench type power supplies when I'm just prototyping a simple circuit. This is great. Gives me everything I need. I have my power supply. I got a prototype board to put parts on. Gives me switches, a couple controls. If I need to, if I'm maybe working on an audio circuit, well, I don't even need to input audio externally into this unit. I can just select, move the coarse control down to like the 10 hertz range or the 100 hertz or 1,000 hertz range. There's my audio signal right there. Just flip over to sine wave, and then here's your frequency, or clock. Actually has clock pulse or frequency output. I'll have to check. I don't know if I have the manual for this. I didn't need one. I know what it does, but I'm pretty sure that Elenco has the manuals available online for these. Like I say, I'll check. I just somehow doubt that I printed out a manual for this because it was pretty self-explanatory. Actually, I did do one thing. I'm pretty sure this did not have a fuse. I don't think, or if it did. It was mounted on the bottom side. I think when I did these terminals to access the 0 to 20 supply and the 5 volt supply and a ground, I think I also added this fuse just for the simple fact you don't have to remove the whole module out of this cabinet if you would happen to blow the fuse. It's very simple. It's whoop, you just unscrew the fuse and it's right there, easy access. Like I said, I really think I might have added that. I'd almost have to go look at some of the thing is, I think I've modified my other ones too, with these terminals. So I'd have to go online and look and see what does an original factory one look like. But yeah, I think I added that. So there you go. Like I say, let's turn on an oscilloscope and I can actually now, the only thing I don't like about this, and I find that it's the one that because I actually have one of these I still use. And actually what I did with that one was, and from a lot of the manufacturers that make stuff like this, they'll have it in two forms. They'll have it in a suitcase like this, or they'll have this module in a box, like in a project box. Sometimes they're even, kind of tilted up at an angle. And without having to make a box to do that, all I did was I just permanently removed the top cover on that one. It's a plastic, it's a plastic hinge, just has a hole on each side and a little, basically, button sticks out off of the lid with it pivots on. Now, if you get down in there with a regular screwdriver, you can just pry out a little bit and usually pop the lids off. But yeah, I knew it was going to just stay off. I still have it because I just set it on top of it to use it as a dust cover. But yeah, I'm never going to be carrying it around like a briefcase. So yeah, I just cut the ear off just to permanently remove the lid. But yeah, like I say, very handy little critters. Like I said, that's the only downfall is when you've got this sitting on your bench, you run into just the exact same problem I have here. There's a lid in the way. It would have been nice if they made this if they designed these cases with an easily removable lid. So yeah, getting back to the oscilloscope's kind of a trick here, so let's turn on a scope. Now, actually, before we get to that, now what you're going to need if you are the winner, and if you're going to be taking an electronics course, this is stuff you'd have to get anyhow. You're going to need a prototype board, and then you're going to need to get a bunch of the little jumper wires that you use for these. Now you can make your own. Just get some solid conductor copper wire. You can, a roll of it, cut out your own, strip all the ends. You can buy them pre-made, which is actually suggested. They're already pre-made in several different lanes. The ends are already stripped. It's just a lot easier. They also usually have those ones that are pre-cut, because this is a standard spacing, for the pins on these. If you buy those ones that are pre-cut, they have them pre-cut and bent, so that when you plug those into the board, they lay flat. Now you can also get the kind that I kind of prefer. They're a little bit easier to use. I got several boxes of these things floating around with wires. Like I say, lots of prototyping, McDoodling around, but you can also get this style. It's a little bit more, it's a stranded wire, so it's a lot more flexible, has a little plastic molding on the end, but then it has a solid metal contact, but to plug actually into your board. So let me plug one in there, because I'm going to need to get to the ground to get to the frequency. So I have a ground for my frequency. We'll turn on the oscilloscope over here. Scope probe. Actually, where's the clip for that? What I'll do is I'll just shove a wire in the hole there. Yeah, so if you were using this, like I said, that's why I say I know how they work, so I didn't need a manual for it. But if you don't know, especially if you don't know what the logic switches and the data switches are, you're going to want the owner's manual. Matter of fact, don't worry. If you win this, I'll print. If I don't have a copy of it, I will find the manual for this. I'll print it out and bind it for you. So yeah, kind of like the oscilloscope drawing. I wasn't sure if I had the manual. I did for that, but I'm not sure. Again, not sure. If I don't have it, I will print it out. So a manual will be included with this. Whether I already have it or I gotta print it. Get on there, and I guess it would help if I turned it on. And look at that. We have a sine wave. Actually, let me see how I have the scope set up. Okay, I already have it in DC coupling. So now, since it's in DC coupling mode, now if it was in AC coupling mode and I turned this DC offset, you wouldn't notice anything. But since I have it in DC coupling mode, there's a DC offset, and when I turn that, you'll see the waveform actually, it's not changing the frequency, it's changing its position on the screen because you're changing the DC offset for that signal. Okay? The amplitude, so amplitude control does just what you would think it would do. It changes the amplitude. The frequency adjusts, so there's the fine control. And then the coarse control. And we have the different waveforms. And There's square wave, there's your sawtooth, or triangle, not sawtooth, triangle waveform, and sine wave. But yeah, like I said, really handy because it has a lot of stuff built right into one box. So, there you go. That's what I'm giving away this time. Again, this is all on me, no sponsors. You know, this is just all stuff that I've bought. So, you know, money out of my pocket. I'm just trying to help some people that are maybe less fortunate out, that could use some stuff like this. Excess stuff that I have that I don't really need anymore. So, you know, I always try to pass stuff on. I've always been that way. If I end up with a lot of one thing, you know, when I buy stuff, because I think when I got these, I actually got, it wasn't a whole pallet full of them, but I originally got like close to 10 of them. I've given a bunch of them away. I still have a few. Like I said, I use some of them, so. But I do have one that I can just consider this one extra. So yeah, I'll give this away. And like I said, I specifically picked this instead of a meter or something like that because this does a lot in one box. So like I say, it has the power supply, it has the breadboard, it has a signal generator, it's got some switches, it's got your potentiometers built into it. So yeah, it's very small. These are nice. Now, if you don't win and you want one of these, feel free. You can go out and buy one of these things brand new. I'm pretty sure Elenco still makes these. I'm not sure if they make the 550 model anymore. Actually kind of think they do, or they might have upgraded over the years. But there's several different types of these you'll find. You'll find very basic ones. Now, they might not be in a briefcase. You can get just a prototype board. You can get a prototype board with a power supply built in, which I'm actually kind of twixting between what I want to actually use for the course. I do not have one of those, but it's probably what I'm going to use for the course because it's going to give me a little bit more real estate on the board. A board this size will be fine probably for the whole course. But just for ease of me with camera, you know, trying to take video of me actually installing parts, I'm going to want a bigger board. So you can get these prototype boards like this a lot bigger. And you can get them, like I was talking about, in a cabinet, basically. But they also have, you can get them with a power supply built in. So it'll have a positive and a negative variable power supply, and usually a 5-volt fixed 5-volt supply, just like this one. Now, it won't have AC like this does, but like I say, they're really handy. So that's probably what I'm going to use. I'm going to have to buy one of those to do the course. But you can get these. They even come fancier than this. You know, there's everything in between. You can get just a prototype strip board like this, or you can get one of these things that even has digital displays in it. It not only will have the, you know, variable power supplies, all the other rails, they'll have digital LCD displays. I think I've even seen them now. Some of them have the cheap little oscilloscopes built into them. I mean, there's just a vast array of different types. Now, you can get these things on eBay cheap, relatively speaking, especially compared to what they cost new. So, you know, check eBay, check Amazon. You can get stuff used on Amazon even. So, you know, check Amazon. Doesn't necessarily have to be an Elenco brand. You know, now they make just analog trainers, but if you're going to do this course, you plan on doing the whole first 4-part, which, like I said, each one of those 4 parts is going to be rather long, but each one of those parts is going to be DC, AC, analog, and digital. Well, when we get to digital, that's where this trainer will actually be nice, because it has the logic switches, the data switches. It has, you know, signal generator and clock source built into it. So like I say, they're just really handy. But yeah, so if you don't win one of these, you think you would like to have one just because of its compactness and having so much shoved into a small, easy to put off to the side. I realize a lot of people that are probably doing this are not going to have a dedicated workbench like this. You're not going to have the real estate. You might be taking this course on your kitchen table, on a bench you build into a closet. I don't know. That's the nice thing about something like this is it keeps the footprints fairly small, all except for that blasted lid that folds back. But like I say, that's easy to overcome. But it doesn't take up a lot of real estate. So, like I say, in addition to, like with this one, having the signal generator built in, the only other thing you need, and it has the storage built into this one, it's got the little angled spot here to stick a digital multimeter in. The only other thing you'd really need would be, I guess, the oscilloscope. Everything else is pretty much in here. So, well, actually, when we get into like some of the analog, we'll need speaker. That's one thing this doesn't have is a speaker. Radio Shack. Actually, Radio Shack made some of these things. They have their, 100 or 300 or 501 electronic experiment things. Shoot, honestly, even one of those things, they're kind of similar to this. They have a breadboard. They've got built-in potentiometers, power supply. Now, I can't remember if they had one that has a signal generator built into it or not. But, and I'm working on trying to figure out actually what I want to do there for the course. Now, if you're getting a Red Pataya, you're going to have a signal generator already. But if you're going to, because these signal generators that they have in this, they're very basic circuits, really. Kind of like power supplies. I was actually talking to Mark about that. Realize a lot of people, limited budget, not going to be able to go out and afford, kind of like that power supply. If you watch the video directly before this one, that's the giveaway for the power supply, that I announced last week. You can't afford something like that big, fancy laboratory power supply. And even that one's cheap, relatively speaking, compared to something like an HP or something from Lambda or one of the big laboratory supply makers. For the electronics course, we don't really need that much. So what I might do is design a kit. Now, I'm not going to sell a kit. What I'll do is basically come up with a cart where you can just go to some place like DigiKey. It'll have the transformer, the diodes you need. It'll just be a probably variable voltage only, because like I said, I want to try and keep it simple. So it'll probably be just a variable voltage power supply. Now, of course, I could use all-in-one of the little linear regulators. Just like for the 7805, you can use a 7805 for a 5-volt source. They make 7812 ICs. They make different ones for positive and negative supplies. But for like the variable supply, I think I want to actually, if I design that one, I want to build it old school using a power regulator, transistor, and the associated circuitry. Because once we get into the portion of the course where we're going to be covering power supplies, you'll actually already have built the power supply. You'll already have it. You'll have been using it. And then we'll actually be able to go in and see how that power supply circuit actually works. So, yeah, that Mark actually suggested that, and that was a good idea, because like he said, yeah, even buying used power supplies, the big fancy ones, that gets expensive. But like I said, if you get one of these, all your power supplies are already here. If you get just the proto board that has the built-in power supply, again, it's all built in. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'm kind of tinkering with now for the course, is putting together what, exactly how to lay it out, because I understand a lot of people can just go out and buy, very well off. If they want a new oscilloscope, they'll just go online to like TE equipment, and they can go buy a brand new Rigel scope or a spectrum analyzer, fancy multimeters, anything that they want. A lot of people aren't going to be able to do that. So I want to try and make it bare bones minimum that you have to spend as far as equipment goes. Like I say, when it comes to the scope, yeah, you're kind of going to be on your own. If you get the Red Pataya, that will work for the course. If you want to get a used scope, I may do a video on buying used scopes. I'm hesitant to do it. I know Dave Jones has done it, and actually I should suggest that. Go look at some of Dave Jones' videos. He's done videos on oscilloscopes, on buying used oscilloscopes, what to look for. What to avoid. Because the problem is there's so many. They've been made for decades. I've got old vacuum tube operated oscilloscopes. Actually, they were called oscillographs back then. It was before the term oscilloscope came around. I've got some old RCA, and shoot, I think I have an old DeVry Institute vacuum tube one floating around here somewhere. But yes, the only problem is trying to say, and then you're just going to end up with a million questions. Well, will this one work, Mike? I'm not going to be able to answer all those questions. It's just physically impossible. There's just too much going on. I'm not going to be able to answer a million questions of people asking about the specifics of a certain manufacturer's piece of equipment. Honestly, people, if I don't know one, I'm going to have to look it up myself. I'm going to have to go download a data sheet or a specifications manual or the owner's manual for that instrument and read up on it myself. You can do that yourself. So anyhow, here it is. This is the giveaway for this week. Next Sunday, I'll be doing the drawing for this, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like I say, the two previous winners are not eligible for this. You've already won something. Shipping is free in the continuous 48 states of the United States. Anything outside of that, shipping will be on you. So we'll have to get together, if somebody outside of the country or outside of the continental United States wins. Because I know it can be really expensive shipping stuff overseas. Between the exorbitant prices of shipping stuff out of this country, on top of that, you're going to get hit, I guess, I don't live overseas, but, I guess a lot of countries you get hit with, like, VAT, taxes and whatnot, like import fees. So, yeah, you'll be on your own when it comes to all that. I'm just going to be supplying the prize when it comes to shipping outside the continental United States. And I guess that's about it. Like I say, just try and keep it honest. If you don't really need this, if you've already got a proto board, signal generator, and all the other stuff, don't enter. Try and keep this for somebody that really needs this for the course. So there you go. Enough talking. I'll leave it at that. And good luck to everybody. Like I say, if you don't win, you can buy these new. You can pick them up used. So go online, do some searching. Go on eBay. I can almost guarantee you, well, at least within a few minutes of this video posting, because I'm sure a bunch of people are going to go log on to eBay now and might be going to buy these or see how much they're going for. So the market might dry up rather fast. But yeah, it doesn't have to be an Elenco. You can get anything like this and work fine for the course. So there you go. Good luck to everybody, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.